What's happening here? Talk me through the legals of this.
Well, Priti Patel, the former Home Secretary, introduced an agreement with Albania. It was an agreement that fostered greater cooperation with the government of Albania. And it was presented as a fast-track scheme to remove Albanians in the United Kingdom. And although it wasn't clear in the wording of the policy or in the wording of the announcements that were made in July 2021 and thereafter, but there was an expectation that it would perhaps apply to asylum seekers. And as a result of that, the government received a pre-action letter as a precursor to a judicial review, potentially to challenge the policy if it were to apply to asylum seekers. Because fast-tracking asylum seekers was said to perhaps deny them the right to be heard, the right to present their claim, and the right to appeal thereafter. So following this pre-action letter, the government has seemingly done a U-turn and said, well, no, it won't apply to asylum seekers. And therefore, pretty much nullifies the policy to the point that, well, it may as well have not been introduced in the first place.
Do we have control of our borders?
If we look at this particular policy, the basis behind the pre-action letter was to say, well, if you've identified a nationality group and you're saying that this nationality group should be fast-tracked because the claims that this group presents are not credible, spurious was the word used, then you need to have the data and the evidence to back that up. The problem the Home Office had here was that actually 53% of all asylum applicants, of all claims by Albanian applicants, are actually granted. That's actually more than half granted by the same Home Office, by Priti Patel's own department.
But they're now protected from the heavy shelling and mortaring of Tirana and the whole of the Albanian countryside.
But that's almost a different issue. That's almost a different issue. So what you then need to do, and you're right, people will raise that as a concern. They might say, some of your viewers might say that, well, actually, Albania is now a safe country, that the shelling and all the violence of yesteryear is now behind Albania. But then you need to look at why 53%, more than half, are actually being granted. And there may be concerns in relation to that, and that the decision-making process and the merits of the decision-making may need to be reviewed. But what this policy did was try to put the cart before the horse by saying, actually, we are identifying you as a group with spurious claims, but that's not backed by your own data, whereby civil servants are granting more than half of all applications.
Why can't we just say refugees welcome, economic migrants, go make your own country great?
It's very often the grey line between an economic migrant and a refugee. Okay. Because what you have now is the conventional case is no longer a textbook case of war and famine and atrocities. There are nuances and various other elements.
When did the nuances end? Anyway.